And we are live. Okay, running a little late, of course. Of course. Welcome, everyone. Yes, that time of year again. What can I say? We have the Oscars coming up this weekend. And a couple of weeks ago, good Don Shanahan was kind enough to join me as I did my reaction to those films that were nominated and not nominated. And so we had that going on. And so I have come up with my Oscar picks, considering it's Sunday. So I can't believe it's been a week already since I did the Horror Fest, which is a lot of fun. Just in case anyone's looking, I do have 6 interviews up that I did while I was at that fest last weekend, and I've got a lot of movie reviews coming over the next couple of weeks. I always seem to catch up, and then yeah, I tend to have a lot again. So look for reviews for as many movies as I can do for from that fest. Well, there were 2 fests actually. I covered 2 fests. So the Midwest Weird Fest and a Night of Horror International Horror Fest film festival, and both were a lot of fun. Met a lot of great creative folks and fans of indie horror. A whole new group of of movie maniacs who enjoyed indie horror. So that was last weekend, and I've got a lot of reviews coming. Just trying to catch up with everything. So speaking of catching up, yes, it is the movie Super Bowl. Well, the Super Bowl for cinephiles. The Oscars are Sunday. And just like the Super Bowl, many people watch it reluctantly. A lot of you movie fans out there may not like the picks, may not like the nominees, but at the end of the day, they probably find themselves watching it. I know I'm one of those. So we have our predictions and consequences, as we do here. A show that I started a number of years ago, I took a break from, and then I brought it back last year. It was a lot of fun. It did take me a long time to get to the consequence film, which was The Wash. Check that review out I did with Mr. Andrew Shearer from Gonzorific. He was kind enough to talk with me on The Wash, which was one of my consequence films. The other one, See Me Dance. Thank you, Scotty D, for recommending it. It was awful. I did not do a review for it. I would rather direct you find folks to the worst movies ever podcast, where Mr. Derek Carey on his Patreon, The Worst Movies Ever, is a great Patreon, and he covers See Me Dance a lot better. And yeah, check his stuff out. It's so great to see the worst films ever. So before we get started, in case people don't realize what the consequence, the predictions and consequences episode of the Final Cut is I go through and I pick a majority of the categories, not all of them, but most of them from the Oscars, and I make my picks. Now, if I get some wrong, my consequence, which used to be horrible films, I would have to watch and review horrible films. It's how I ended up watching Freddy Got Fingered. Sorry, Ian. He loves that movie. I watched the Psycho remake for like a second time. And yeah. So and yes, some people find Freddy Got Fingered very funny. I discovered that after I did my review. When I was doing my consequence video for Freddy Got Fingered, I posted it, and suddenly I got a number of comments of people coming out to defend that movie. And mad props to you. Really, for me, it was painful to watch. Really, it was. And then I tried it again later, and I couldn't. I couldn't. So that was a good consequence. But I was like, I really enjoy actually watching bad films, even ones that are painful. I kind of enjoy watching regular bad films that are kind of in my wheelhouse. So this year, for our consequences, what we are doing is films that are completely out of Mark the Movie Man's wheelhouse. I mean, like on the other end of the bell curve. We are looking at our consequence films are going to be horrible rom-coms and Hallmark movies. two types of films that I would not voluntarily watch. I would voluntarily watch some of the bad films that were my consequences, but rom-coms, especially some rough ones, and Hallmark films, no, 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 no. So those will be the films. I've had suggestions from friends, so I've got my list of bad films there. I will reveal that after the Oscars. Okay, let's just say I've got some wonderful consequence films here that just look so painful to watch. Stuff like Christmas Cruise, The Royal Treatment. Well, I'll read down the list. Why not? We got one viewer here. Thank you for watching, by the way. Final Approach, Royally Ever After, A California Christmas, City Lights. Now that was recommended by Mr. One Don Shanahan, and when I talked to my coworker who watches a lot of Hallmark films, she said, "Well, that's a sequel." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean that's a sequel?" And she's like, Yeah, that's a sequel, man. Uh sorry about that. I had a window pop up on me. She's like, "Yeah, there was a film called A California Christmas." And I'm like, "Just that?" And sure enough, so on my consequence list will be A California Christmas and A California Christmas, City Lights, because you can't watch the second one without watching the first one, right? Right? Killers, The Love Guru. Yeah, we've got a bunch of them here. Your Place or Mine. So those are all going to be tossed on the wheel of random. And how that will work for the consequences is after the Oscars, early next week, I will do my consequence. And however many ones I get wrong, I will spin the wheel of random and we will pick from the list. Well, the wheel will pick for me one of those horrible films made uh, suggestions from my wonderful group of friends and critics. And whichever ones don't make it, we don't use, we're going to carry over till next year. So we'll just be having this long list of rom coms and uh, of Hallmark films. Oh boy. So it should definitely be interesting. And I'm always welcome for those who are tuning in the live stream or comment later. Welcome to make some suggestions as well. Ooh, we've got a Facebook user here who suggests any of the mysterious royal family Hallmark films are amazing. The Christmas ones doubly so. My dad is a diehard Hallmark fan because they all have happy endings. This is what I've heard, and the few that I have seen, yes. Thank you for the comment, our folks watching Facebook. I know they have happy endings. It's just those type I may need a shot of insulin because they are so saccharine. But mad props to those who love them, but definitely not my wheelhouse. So very appropriate consequence genre for me. So with that said, drink in hand, let's head on over to our predictions. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. Okay, here we go. So we got our Oscar and predictions here. And so our first prediction, uh, wait, this did not update. How dare it? Did it not save my settings? It did not. Oh, what an embarrassment this is the way it's been for me, folks. This is not the one I need. Just one moment. I have it right here. I have it right here. Okay, there it is. Give me one moment. I tell you. So unprofessional of me. I apologize for this, folks. Let's see what I got here. Uh, there it is. This should be the new one. I am thinking this is going to be the new one. The other one was for last year. I was going to say Brandon Fraser. Hey, I was right. Brandon Fraser. Yep, here we go. Okay. All right, here we go now. Now this year, oh look, and everybody left. That's beautiful. Now this year, uh taking the awards is Ben Oppenheimer. So My predictions, I'm going to say right now, my predictions um, are leaning. These are predictions now. These are what I think the Academy is going to pick to win. These aren't my personal choices. Okay. I have to put that out right away. Uh, these aren't my personal choices. I am going to give my personal choices who I would like to see win. But we're going to give who my official pick is. And then I'm going to say, hey, we're going to do this person. So, all right, here we go. We've got the correct one now. So, of course, moving right along, we're going to have here Killian Murphy. You know, I have a feeling he's going to eke out Paul Giamatti. Unfortunately, I want to see Paul Giamatti win. I would love to see Paul Giamatti win. He deserves to win, and I really want to see him win. But unfortunately, with the way all the award ceremonies, many of the award ceremonies have gone, not all of them, but some. Uh, the Oppenheimer seems to be the award baby this year, but I would love to be wrong on this and have Paul Giamatti win. I think it was his best performance of the year, and but I think Murphy from Oppenheimer will win. So moving on, best supporting actor, Robert Downey Jr. He's been sweeping the awards again from Oppenheimer. Um, he's been sweeping the awards, and he's probably going to take it here. Ryan Gosling will be the upset, but I don't think that's going to happen. I really, I really don't think that is going to happen. I think Robert Downey Jr. is going to get the Academy Award again for Oppenheimer. So mad props to Robert Downey Jr. This one's almost a for sure, I think. If I'm wrong, cool. With any of these, if I'm wrong, awesome. It shows a little bit of variety in the Oscars. It's just, they don't exactly have a history of that. Now, moving on, Best Actress. I think Lily Gladstone is going to take it. I know it's a bit of an upset pick, but I know any one of these in Best Actress, I'd be fine with winning. I'm going to go with Lily Gladstone on this, or Emma Stone would be my top two. I would love to see either one of them win in this category, but I think Lily Gladstone may just eke it out there. So yeah, for Killers of the Flower Moon. Then Davine Joy Randolph for Best Supporting Actress. She has to win for this. She was wonderful in The Holdovers. She just really helped bring over, not only great chemistry with Paul Giamatti, but her character was my favorite character in that movie. I loved her performance in it. I think it was very solid. And yeah, I think she could get the gold trophy for that one. That's what I'm going with. Now, as far as animated movie goes, I know Marvel fans are going to be a little bit upset, but I think The Boy and the Heron is going to eke out over Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'd love to see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse win. I am a Miyazaki fan as well, so either one of these won't be a disappointment. But this year, The Boy and the Heron has been getting a lot of buzz lately. So I believe that is the direction they're going to go with animated movie. And then we're going along with original screenplay. Justin Trait and Arthur Harari for Anatomy of a Fall. A lot of people really like that story, even though that film, everybody's talking about Oppenheimer. When it comes to the original screenplay, it seems like a lot of people talk about Anatomy of the Fall. So I unfortunately have not had a chance to see it yet. Full disclosure, but I'm going with that just from the buzz and the other awards ceremonies. That will be my pick. Then Best Adapted Screenplay. American Fiction, Cord Jefferson. I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I enjoyed Barbie uh, about the same for different reasons. And Barbie winning in this, though, the fact that they gave Barbie adapted screenplay just because it was adapted from the Barbie figures, I think is a little bit of a cop out. Well, it's a big cop out, actually. But I think American Fiction really had a lot going for it, and it is going to eke out for a best screenplay. So, cinematography, Oppenheimer. A lot of people, I mean, for the picks that they had for cinematography, Oppenheimer. It was really odd to see some choices get snubbed in the cinematography category or others get nominated. It was crazy this year to see what things didn't make it. Though Robbie Ryan for Poor Things, I think would be a nice runner up for cinematography just because of the camera work and the fanciful nature of things and all of that. So I think that the cinematography though for Oppenheimer, it will take it because everybody's been just loving Oppenheimer in Hollywood. And moving on, best director. Yeah, Christopher Nolan's probably gonna get it for Oppenheimer. Look, I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Oppenheimer. I just wasn't blown away, no pun intended, by Oppenheimer as many people. And I like Nolan's stuff, but his last few played with the timeline so much and all of this. It's as a good friend of mine would say, sniffing his own farts, so to speak, in some respects. And yeah, I just and again, I'm not saying Oppenheimer is a bad film by any means, but the praise that it's getting, I think it's people going for low hanging fruit and not either taking a chance or not bothering to watch some of the other films that I think were better crafted. I one of them for sure, Poor Things. I know that's controversial for some, but I think Poor Things was directed fantastically. The story that unfolds in that you weren't sure uh, you weren't sure which direction Poor Things was gonna go. Granted, it borrowed heavily from Frankenhooker. I'm not complaining about that at all. I enjoy Frankenhooker quite a bit. So it had that vibe for sure, but, you know, and Barbie, Greta Gerwig wasn't even on the list. Otherwise, she would have been, my pick other than Oppenheimer. But since she wasn't on the list, I gotta go with Yorgos Lanthimos. I know I probably mispronounced it for Poor Things out of that list of films that are up for Best Director. I enjoyed that more than Oppenheimer, and I know Don Shanahan. Yes, Don, I know you enjoy pissing on the flames of Oppenheimer. I love that pun, by the way, as well. Yeah, I just again not saying it's a crappy film, but I think there were other films that would have been better choices than that. Then film editing, I'm again picking what I think Hollywood's going to go with, and in this case, it's going to be Jennifer Lame for Oppenheimer. With it being just the awards, a darling for most categories. Film editing is going to go to Oppenheimer, though. Again, I'm going to fall back to Poor Things. Out of the films that are in the film editing list, I think Poor Things, Yorgos, had a better crafted editing in that storytelling. While Oppenheimer plays with the timeline, and I get the challenges that there are for putting that film together. I don't know. Uh, it wasn't the best, but hey, as far as my consequence and prediction film goes, it's going to be Oppenheimer for film editing and score. This year for scores was, for what was nominated was not that strong. And yes, I know, blasphemous. John Williams was in the list, and John Williams is a favorite, with Indy and the Dial of Destiny. But it's like John Williams came out with a score, so we're going to release it. Maestro, I thought was really good score. I really think Maestro was a fantastic score. But if I was going to pick one for folks with original score, Yeah, it's gonna be Oppenheimer. Though Poor Things had a wonderful original score as well. It could be the upset, but Ludwig Göransson, I think it will win out. And Best Picture, here we are, folks. Yeah. Oh, on sound first. Sorry. Uh, sound is Oppenheimer. The sound category was weird. What they picked this year for sound nominations, I couldn't believe it. Uh, Let me pull it up here quick, folks, because it kind of baffled me a bit for sound, the things that made it. Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, and Zone of Interest. Now, for sound, Zone of Interest, that almost entire film relies on the sound, but the sound isn't that prevalent. It's all mostly in the background and everything. So this is going to be a complicated category because let me backtrack and say, okay, I shouldn't say it's too much of a surprise for sound, uh, but Oppenheimer did have some great sound to it. Mission Impossible was all right. I mean, it's an action film, so they usually pick that. Maestro had some great music to it, not a huge amount of sound design to it. A creator, of course, because of the sci-fi, but Zone of Interest, that whole film relies on sound. And while I would love to see it to win, I think everybody just is going to vote for Oppenheimer in the Academy because that's about the only film I think everybody went out to see. Visual effects. This one, if I get wrong, I don't care because visual effects. This is the category that truly deserves it. Um, yeah, 100% would be Godzilla minus one, not only because of the budget that they apparently made the film on, but just the way these effects work. And I am surprised this didn't get nominated for sound because the sound in Godzilla minus one in that Dolby Atmos theater was just mind blowing. It was so good, and it relied so much on it, and I'm surprised Godzilla Minus One did not get nominated for sound. I would have, in all honesty, and I know this is blasphemous, I would have taken that over, the creator or Maestro, for sound, but nonetheless, visual effects, I'm gonna go with Godzilla Minus One. While you have Guardians of the Galaxy and the creator, which could be the could be the one instead of Godzilla minus one. I don't care. I'm going with Godzilla minus one. If I'm wrong, I'll take the consequence for that one because for me, Godzilla minus one was probably one of the top, if not the top film for me of last year. And I didn't think I'd be saying that, but it's true. I enjoyed it and Barbie probably the most last year out of all the films. It was a surprise, and I would love to see Godzilla minus one. So I went with my heart with this one. And if I have to watch a crappy film, so be it. And yeah, best picture is going to be Oppenheimer. You know, just at the end of the day, even though they have 10 films listed, and if you look at the trend of the other award ceremonies, which tend to give you insight and give you a flavor of how the Oscars and the Academy is going to go, it's probably going to be Oppenheimer, which I will say is unfortunate because, and it's not, again, I enjoyed the film, but I don't know. Was it really the best picture out there? Or was it just the one that everybody saw? Out of all the films, because like Zone of Interest, I know many people saw it, but not a lot. And with the Academy, American Fiction was great, enjoyable. For the performance of Jeffrey Wright, I did enjoy that. Anatomy of the Fall, again, I didn't unfortunately get to see, so I can't say for sure. I've heard good things about Anatomy of the Fall. Barbie was our family favorite. The Holdovers, Giamatti and Devine really helped make that film more than it probably should have been, and it done in the 70s shtick was interesting. Killers of the Flower Moon, yeah, it tried, and there were a lot of great potential elements in there. It's just Killers of the Flower Moon just that went the wrong direction, which is unfortunate because it's a great story in there, and it was an interesting one and a period of history that's not really covered in mass media. But at the same time, I think it was handled with oven mitts on in many respects. I know, again, blasphemous, but uh, and then the other ones as well. The only other one I hadn't seen of the best pictures is Past Lives. Maestro is an all right a biopic. I enjoy it because I really like Bernstein's music, and Bradley Cooper put his all into it and really crafted a decent biopic, but it does follow kind of that same formula we've seen before. There's nothing really that stood out as far as the overall movie. And at the end of it, I liked the lead actress's performance better than Bradley Cooper's. I know. I'd be broken like that. Poor Things is too odd to win the Oscar, unfortunately. It's on there because it is a well-crafted film. At the same time, Poor Things is just too quirky. It's much like Barbie. Barbie was a really great film. Best Picture of the Year, deserves to be nominated. To win, if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably pick Poor Things only because of the type of film it is, though Barbie was exceeded all expectations anybody had. And yeah, but it's another quirky film. And it was Everything Everywhere All at Once last year was an anomaly, I think, with the Oscars for a quirky film winning Best Picture. And I think it was because the landscape had changed so much for the year it came out that people actually went with it because it was probably the best film of the year. I know for me it was at the top of my list, but as far as the Academy trend goes, I think they voted for it for them because of the other options available, But Everything Everywhere All at Once last year was a great winner, rightly deserved it. Okay, don't get me wrong, it rightly deserved it. I'm just talking about the Oscar trends of voting for odd, quirky, unusual genre type films as Best Picture winning doesn't quite happen as often as I'd like to see. But it's great to still see him get nominated. And Zone of Interest, well crafted and deserved nomination to win Best Picture last year. No, I think just because maybe it was a little too subtle in some respects. I know that sounds odd, but yeah, I think people are just going to go gravitate to Oppenheimer for Best Picture because it was the low hanging fruit. But for me, I think a few of the others could have deserved it more. Last year it didn't have a bad outing for films overall. I mean, there were a lot of middle or upper middle quality films. And this year is gonna be odd too. I think next year's Oscars is gonna be interesting to see how that plays out with what gets nominated. We'll have to wait for the fall of 2024 since that is the award season. But there you have it, folks. There are my predictions, whatever they're worth. Um, am I wrong picking Oppenheimer so much? Possibly, and I'm fine with that. I am looking forward to seeing well, not so much looking forward to seeing the Consequence films, but I am ready. I have prepared myself. We got the Oscars on Sunday, and we will soon find out. So thank you so much, Mr. Don Shanahan, for tuning in, and my other folks who have popped in and out. I hope you found this interesting. And if nothing else, prepare yourself, because next week we will be dropping our consequence episode. And I'm going to do my darndest to get those consequence films done a lot sooner than last year's consequence films. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe, have your friends tell their friends, and come all and subscribe. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So we're trying to get to 3K or more before the end of 2024. We can only do that with your help. So yeah, I hope you found this interesting. And man, I tell you, this list of consequence films I got, folks, oh boy, these are ones that I would never pick. Other things, though, to look at our channel quick. We've got the 6 interviews I did last week. I've got another interview I just did with Deborah Lamb, a very talented and experienced indie film actress. She's wore a lot of hats over her career so far. And we got to talk to her about There's No Such Thing as Zombies, as well as her career and other films in general. So that's going to drop soon, as well as I've got 3 other interviews dropping later this week. Well, that would be next week. So I've got a bunch there. I've got a whole bunch of reviews coming. I've got a couple written reviews. All of it you can find at specialmarkproductions.com. Go to links there and you can find stuff to go from there. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in and hearing me ramble about our cinematic Super Bowl coming up Sunday, my picks. And we'll see just how many of these wonderful romantic comedies and Hallmark films I'm going to have to watch. So stay tuned, folks. And remember, until next time, as always, keep that ticket stub.